Welcome to Scandinavian Mind Weekly, our show about the current trends and events within business, tech, fashion, design, culture, and more, from the Nordic perspective of our team of editors and contributors. Today on the program, we revisit the Stockholm launch of Scandinavian Mind Issue 3. We are going to listen to our live interview with Alain Visser, CEO of Lynk & Co., which was our launch partner. Also, a live interview with our cover star, Nora Bavey. I'm Conrad Olsson, editor-in-chief and founder of Scandinavian Mind, and I'm here with my colleague Erik Sedin. How are you, Erik?
Hello, I'm good. We're missing Rodan, but I know he's probably on a plane over the Atlantic right now.
Exactly. He's on his way to Coachella, so I think next week we'll have a action-packed report from Coachella, and he's also there launching a project with his day job, Absolute Company, which is launching a new metaverse concept at Coachella. All right, so earlier this week, we launched our third print issue of Scandinavian Mind in central Stockholm, together with our launch partners, car brand Lynk & Co., which we have talked about and have had as guests on the podcast before. Super happy about doing this project together with them. And in their Stockholm club, which was limited space, so also a limited amount of people we were able to invite, but man, it was nice to have people crammed together in a small space again. What do you think?
Yeah, it was great. I think everyone's been missing it, especially us. We kind of got our issue 2 launch. It was nice, but it was kind of hijacked by the by the pandemic in a way. So this was kind of like we had unless because it was, like you said, quite small, but it got really cozy and tight and great.
It's so wonderful, and it's one of those things. I've been really missing the clashing people together from different worlds. That's what we're about here at Scandinavian Mind. And we had people that, been interviewed on the show before. I mean, David Orlek, founder of the new interesting startup Anyone, was there. We had the Mike Afrous, one of the co-founders of the upcoming NFT platform Roya Edition, which we interview in the magazine. He was there. Also a bunch of our trusted collaborators, Anton Renborg, fashion photographer, Katarina Håkansson, which did the MetaHuman story that we published online earlier this week. And also, of course, our editor-at-large, Ilenia Martini, who wrote the very much liked interview with Jesper Kautoft, founder of Teenage Engineering. A lot of people liked that interview. I get a lot of positive feedback on that one.
Except for my digital fashion list, that was my favorite, the Jesper Kautoft one. That was great.
Exactly.
Close second.
Close second to your own list. No, I mean, really, it was a great time, and we also had a chance to do a little bit of a live talk there, which turned out to be a little bit longer than I anticipated. I think we had around a good 20 minutes of live interviews, but I figured if people was going to come and drink our free drinks, free wine and beer, they might as well, listen to what we had to say. So I was really pleased to have the CEO of Lynk & Co. present, and we're now going to listen to a brief conversation with Alain talking about the concept of Lynk & Co. Here now from the launch of Scandinavian Mind Issue 3, Alain Visser, CEO of Lynk & Co. Thank you so much for having us here. And I just wanted to take the chance. You are, of course, the CEO of Lynk & Co. And at Scandinavian Mind, we've been covering you guys for, I think, over a year, because we're always curious about where the future of mobility is going. And I know you are passionate about that as well. And here we are doing this thing together. Just so, for anyone who doesn't know this concept, this new mobility concept, just set this up for us, and we don't have 5 hours.
Okay, good. Well, thanks. Great also to have you all here. Lynk & Co. is a bit, I always tell my colleagues, it's a bit revolution against my past. I've been in the car industry for 35 years. And if you think about it, the car industry hasn't really moved on at all in almost a century. Cars get better, but basically the industry consists of selling cars and they get better, but you could say an average smartphone got a lot better in the last 5 years, more than a car in the last 50 years. So I started this organization really saying the world is moving at a pace that we've never seen before. People care more about doing things than about owning things. There must be an opening to do something radically different. I don't think the future of mobility is about more people buying more cars. I think it's about moving around more efficiently and most of all, more sustainably. I find it quite fascinating that suddenly all car manufacturers say they are sustainable, which is because, of course, they do electric cars, and they do electric cars because Elon Musk showed all of us how to do electric cars. But if your business consists of selling a product that is used for 5% of the time, believe it or not, the average car on this planet is used for 5% of the time, the rest it's parked, you cannot call yourself sustainable. No. So we basically said, let's do something else. Let's not try to maximize the number of cars on the road. Let's bring sustainable cars on the road, but utilize them more. So our concept consists of, yes, there is a car, but we don't talk about it so much, even tonight. And this is more a club than a car dealerships. So we basically sell mobility. It's a bit like we call ourselves the Netflix of the car industry, where you buy using of a car for a month, everything included, but the more you share your car, the more your cost goes down. And we said also, let's not have dealerships because, sorry to be maybe a bit offensive, but in my 35 years in the car industry, I still have not met the family that wakes up on a Saturday morning and tells their children, kids, I got good news, we're going to our car dealership today. It's never gonna happen. So we said, instead of building these big car dealerships outside of the city, let's go inside of the city and build cool places where hopefully cool people like you can hang out and listen to good music and have good drinks. So that's a bit the concept. We started a year ago. We've been pretty shocked by the fact that it's working so well. Our biggest problem today is getting enough cars to our customers so they can start sharing them, but we're quite happy with them. So it's really great to have you here. Sorry, yeah, you asked me also to say something. Future of mobility. Future of mobility for me is not about people driving cars. I think the mobility will be a service rather than a product. Buying cars is going to be out in 20, 30 years. People will buy mobility. It's an app, and you will just, whenever you need transportation, you will order your vehicle, which will be an autonomous driving car, an Uber without a driver, which means you don't have to park, you don't have to pay for service, and you can drink and drive. So it's I think I think what's going to be the future of mobility. Sounds a good future,
not
right?
Tonight.
So
not tonight.
Not tonight. So that's it. But thanks.
No. But I'm gonna keep you here for a little bit because I enjoyed the conversation, and no, it's true. I don't think in my years in publishing, I don't think I've ever done a magazine launch in a car dealership outside of the city. So that's saying something. I know you worked very hard creating and crafting this concept and doing a lot of research. Can you give us some hint of what that research consisted of? What did you learn about the consumer behavior out there, or maybe what was there, or what you wanted to be there? Can you say something about the process?
There were three things. So we looked at this industry which hasn't moved for a century. So we said, let's forget it. Let's just say, what does a consumer want? And there were three major trends that we found. The first one that I said, we see globally, China, US, Europe, we see people care more about doing things than owning things. I like to call it dematerialization. And if you care less about owning things, you share things. If somebody would have told you 20 years ago there's going to be a company that allows you to share your house with somebody else, you would have said that's insane. And now Airbnb is a normal thing. So the first thing that we learned is people care about doing things more than about owning things. The second thing is, for our industry specifically, people will always want to go from A to B, that stays, but they more than ever obviously want to be connected from A to B. When my son steps into my new car, he doesn't give a damn about this acceleration from 0 to 100. He doesn't give a damn about horsepower. He doesn't even know what it is. The only thing he asks is, do you have Wi-Fi? So what we care about on a car is different than it was 20 years ago. And the third thing that we see is that finally, and I hope it's not too late, people care about this planet. So you can have the greatest business model, you can have the finest product, you can have the greatest design. If you don't have a truly credible sustainability story, you don't deserve customers and you don't deserve employees. And I think these three combined led us then to do something radically different. Yeah. And all the things you see here, by the way, in the club, the products that we sell, it's all people that have a sustainability message, that produce things in a sustainable way. It may not always be the most fancy products and they don't maybe have the allure of the great fashion designers, but they have a story to tell.
Wonderful. One last question, and then we'll let you go. A space like this, I know you have it in several cities around the globe. Your new ones opening up later this year, I've heard from your colleague. What do you want someone who comes in here and leaves? What do you want them to leave with? What kind of feeling? What kind of knowledge?
Yeah, it's a good question. When we first showed this concept to some of our colleagues, some said, so where are the cars? And this is a small one where the car takes, but in most of our clubs that are triple the size, there's always one car. And I remember one of our employees saying, what if people only come in to buy a coffee and they're not even interested in the cars? That's exactly what we want. So we really want people to discover the brand. I always say you can run a business, start a business online, but you can't create a brand online. Experiences, you will always need the physical touch and people. I do not believe in a radical digitalization. I do not believe in a radical version of the metaverse, because people will still need people. And I think you need a physical contact, and that's what we try to do here. We're not selling contracts. This is not a distribution point or a selling point. It's an evidence point of what we stand for.
Are you completely anti-metaverse? Are you doing anything there?
I think, look, you can't avoid it. You need to be part of it. And I personally think I may be too old. As you can imagine, 35 years in the industry, I'm almost as old as I look. But but basically, the metaverse, you need to embrace it. But if you only embrace the metaverse, you miss the point.
Wonderful. Alain Visser, CEO of Lynk & Co.
Thank you.
All right, that was Alain Visser, CEO of Lynk & Co. Also present at the launch of Scandinavian Mind issue 3 was, of course, our cover star, Nora Bavey. Super happy and proud to have her, obviously on the cover, but also present at the event. And I was really moved by, she mentioned it to me beforehand, but also in the interview. And she said to me, Conrad, I don't know if you understand how much this means to our community that we have put Nora on the cover in terms of what it means in terms of representation and diversity. And that was something that really struck me. We, of course, it's something we think about, but I think firsthand we like Nora because of the work she does and her charisma and the thoughts she provides. So, to the sort of diversity part of it becomes secondary in a way, but it's really nice to hear that it does play a role.
Yeah, and it was nice to see how she has had a lot of pull on social media when we share the stuff. She seems quite popular and liked and appreciated in that community, and she also brought some very vocal friends and family to the event, which I think we can hear in the interview.
Exactly. No, I really appreciate that. So let's have a listen. This is our conversation with Nora Bavey at the launch of Scandinavian Mind issue 3. Enjoy.
I think people who watch media in Sweden, just open any social media or step outside the door. They see you everywhere right now, isn't it?
God, yeah.
Anyways, Nora, we are so proud and happy to have you crown this issue. It's a wonderful story conducted by our editor-at-large, Roland. Roland, you're here. I feel like I'm stealing your job here right now. But I wanted to have you up, Nora, and just talk about where you are right now with, obviously we met at the podcast episode we did with you when you launched the report last year. So maybe start there. Why did you do that report and why was that important?
Yeah, so we do a report each year taking a temperature of the funding gap, because I'm a true believer that what gets measured gets done. And then we are living under a false assumption that we are one of the world's most equal, well, at least gender equal region in the world. But being raised here, not born, you kind of get a lot of different kind of perspectives. And you know that if women, and particularly white women, are struggling, how does that affect someone like me, a woman of color in this ecosystem? So we do a report, but it's based obviously out of gender, so we don't have other identity measurements for now. And it's a really, really scary report, to be honest, because if we're going to be very honest of the crisis that we are experiencing, we have an equality crisis. It's global. It's not just local, it's global. We have a climate crisis. And those two things are actually combined. They are the same story if we just look deep enough into it. And that's kind of also a part of why we need to be very honest about what kind of solutions do we really need, right? And we cannot be part of an ecosystem that allows a very small percentage of the population to code and build for the rest of the population. So now that's a very long answer to a very simple question, but also to give you a deep dive into why are we doing this. We need to get this ecosystem involved, right? And then we have to be honest on where we are, and it's dark. Only 0.7% of all capital goes to female founding teams. Now, if that's
Say that again. Say that number again.
0.7%. This is during.
So it's not 7%.
Oh, I wish, God. It has never been 7% for the last 10 years. And the reason why I say 10 years is because that's where we have the numbers. We know it's shifted between around 0.3 and 2%. Now we're talking about record-breaking years, right? It has never been so much capital being flooded into the Nordics. 0.7%. If that doesn't scare you, then I don't know what does.
So Unconventional Ventures, you did this report, and I encourage anyone to go in and look it up. There are more staggering numbers to learn there. Talk about what you do yourself with your company and what you're trying to do.
So we're trying to walk the talk. I think that's the most important thing. So what we're doing is we're actually building a venture capital firm, right? That focus on diverse founders, building impact tech, meaning building solutions, products, and services that actually caters to the generation that does give a shit about equality. To say it blunt, I'm very transparent. Roland knows this. That is very, very conscious of both the climate and the society that we want to be part of. And I think the pandemic clearly stated that although we were all a part of it, we were privileged in different ways, right? And I think we always talk about, yeah, but we need to highlight female founders, we need to highlight representation, right? We need to highlight different kind of representation and find those role models. But what we want to also make very clear is that we haven't highlighted these role models for centuries. So if we do not be very intentional with both capital and also our understanding of where the ecosystem needs to accelerate, then we're not going to get to that future where we are both sustainable and equal. And I love to talk about sustainability, but I don't understand how we in the Nordics think that we can be sustainable without equality. Sorry to break it down. So to think it out, we invest in pre-seed and seed, so really early stages, because we really think that that's where we need to focus the capital on. Impact tech companies, so companies adhering to the SDGs, meaning both sustainability goals, climate goals, social goals. That's what we want to be focused on.
And is it easy to find things to invest in?
It's the pipeline problem? Yes. No, I'm just kidding. We also had a conversation because everyone talks about the pipeline. And obviously there's a pipeline problem.
What's the pipeline for someone who's not in the
Sorry,
tech?
yeah, so pipeline. So founders and companies and ideas to invest in. That's the pipeline. So we have incredible pipeline. And even though the report that we do is a little bit dark, it also states a lot of positive things, meaning that there's so much potential in the Nordics that is not being invested in and getting that support and the financial muscles. So there is incredible deal flow, meaning founders and ideas to invest in, if you just look broader than the typical norm that today is actually young, white men.
And what do you advise? Because, I mean, obviously this is a topic that you feel very strongly about. You're in it there and you're trying to make the world better yourself. What's your advice to other investors, other funds that wants to sort of find a more diverse portfolio and find other founders with different backgrounds and so forth? Where do you look?
Well, I think you can't fake it anymore, right? I think thinking that fake it till you make it got us fake news. That's on a personal note. But you can't fake it. So I think, start internally, right? You have to be promoting belonging and not even inclusive, culture. Because inclusivity, that's a conversation we should have had 10 years ago, right? We need to talk about belonging. How do we create a culture where people actually feel where they belong? And when you have the answer to that question, then that will also affect your internal talent pool, which will affect your pipeline pool. So that would be my first question. Start internally. But then also, I mean, obviously, we've done the work. We know there are many more like us. So we're not unique in that sense. So I think also collaborate, right? It is an ecosystem. I always talk about we're the smallest with the biggest ambitions. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to change that much. We need to have the bigger players with us. And hopefully, and I think what you're hearing when you talk about you're so passionate about this is also I'm a mother, right? I don't have time to wait on this. Nothing happened while I grew up. So I have to speak for them until they're old enough to speak for them. So what we're seeing as well is that people are also understanding that the consumer power is a power that people cannot fight with, no matter capital. So I try to also talk to consumers that you're actually making a choice every day by who gets your capital. Make sure that you are informed, not just on the sustainability side, but don't accept sustainability without equality.
Nora, your cover story has now been out a couple of weeks or so. I know from your own social media you have a very engaged following, so there were a lot of likes and comments when you announced the cover. A beautiful picture by Lou Wahlström. Can you talk about the reactions at all?
Well, I mean, obviously there were a lot of reactions, and I think to make people in this room understand, we're not represented that much. And when we're represented under so many biases that today is also part of our politics. So to be able to be representing not just the mission and the vision of the society that I want to be part of building, that is both sustainable and equal, but also get to represent the voices and the generations and the amazing founders that I know I see, that I try to support in any way I can. It was huge. I don't know if you noticed that, but the reaction was, finally, having someone in, obviously I'm so incredibly honored that was me, because as I mentioned, I'm very shy really. And to be part of that conversation, when you have to understand, for each like, I get 1,000 dislikes. For each positive comment, I get around 100 at least on my social media channels, with people who wants to explain it to me, how it really works, right? Who wants to tell me why my theory is just a theory. So I think obviously that was a huge moment for the community that I represent, but also getting the validation, right? That you cannot just talk your way out of this conversation. You have to act. And the reason why I had the great fortune to be there is because I'm hopefully walking the talk.
I think so. And we're certainly very happy and proud to have you. And it's so, it makes me really inspired to hear about the reactions. I saw some of it from a distance, but it's really interesting to hear it from your perspective. Anyway.
And just to tell you,
yes.
I want to thank you so much. And I really want to thank Scandinavian Mind, because you have to understand, this is I mean, for you, you said to me, well, it was a no-brainer. I see your work and I think it was amazing. But it isn't that, just so you know. So if there's anything you want to take with you, if you have the opportunity to lift a voice, to lift a person that represents so much, please do that, because you have no idea how catalytic that is. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And on the topic of taking with you, please grab a magazine. I think we should have enough for everyone to grab their own copy with them here tonight. If not, contact us later. We'll sort that out. Again, thank you so much for coming here tonight. I want to thank the whole Lynk & Co team for inviting us into their wonderful space. Of course, my team members, editors, editor-at-larges, and photographers and contributors. I could not do this, or we could not do this without you. And again, Nora, thank you so much. And continue enjoying your evening.
Thank you.
All right, that was Nora Bavey, the cover star of Scandinavian Mind issue 3. As we've said, we had a small cocktail in the Lynk & Co club, Lynk & Co showroom in central Stockholm. Of course, if you weren't there, you can always order your own copy of the magazine through our retail partner, Papercut. There's also a select number of international retailers you can reach the magazine in. All right, Eric, we're going to enjoy the Easter holiday now, and next week we'll be back with Roland Philipp Kretschmar with some fresh takes on Coachella that's going on in Southern California this week. Of course, follow our newsletter to get access to upcoming launches and events. And actually, people, we had a couple of guests that RSVP'd on our invite from this podcast. So if you're an avid listeners of the show, you will also sometimes get little perks like that. Visit scandinavianmind.com/newsletter to stay updated. Erik, thank you so much and enjoy Easter.
Thank you. See you next week.